What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's time once again for... We're at episode 6. Episode 6! The Deep Sports Podcast. It's time to go deep again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Matt Barnes, your host extraordinaire. And, wow, it's been an exciting 2-week period. And, I don't want to say that we have a lot to talk about this week because we're only going to cover like 2 topics. But, there's a lot happening within those 2 topics, but let's get our pleasantries out of the way, I guess. They are oh, how are you out of the way, and then we'll go from there. This week with me is our co-host Kyle Hahn. What's up, Kyle?
Oh man, I am just fantastic, especially these last couple weeks, which I'd say have left me feeling a bit antsy. Wondering what's going to come up, who's going to get signed, where are they going to sign. I've been antsy. I've been really eager to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, too. Yeah. So that's where we're going to get soon. And, of course, with me is my producer, Steven Spivak.
And
Steve, what's up?
I'm just antsy to get the show recorded and edited fast enough to get it uploaded in time for our new lovely time slot of Sunday.
Yeah, I was going to get to that next. So if you're unaware, if you don't follow all of our social media channels, the Deep Sports...
Why aren't you following them?
Well, yeah,
Why wouldn't you be?
Beating around the bush. If you're not following us on our social media channels, but you are listening to the show, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why would you listen to the show but not be following what's happening with the show on some other kind of, media format? So, fix your life. But otherwise, if you aren't following us on our social media channels, the Deep Sports Podcast and Deep Six Podcast are moving our release day to Sundays. So this show will be moving to Sunday. So our normal slots on Fridays are now moving to Sundays. So,
If you didn't get the memo, Sunday.
Yeah. So,
Sunday!
Stop worrying about how you're going to fit, all this ear sex onto your Friday schedule, Can't push back those plans, to fit in, the podcast. Don't worry about what you're going to do with your Saturday anymore. Just go fucking have fun. Go get fucking blitzed. Rest it off on Saturday. Then Sunday, it's going to be there for you. Or, you can slack off at work on Monday morning and listen to the podcast. That's what we're here for. We make your day easier.
Also, leave us your feedback. If you like this Sunday thing, let us know. If you don't like this Sunday thing, also let us know. We are also toying with the idea of possibly pushing the show to Mondays, just because we're not exactly sure where our viewing audience or listening audience sits on days where they actually listen to the show.
What Steve really means by that is let him know, because Sunday's the day, and you're just going to fucking like it. So Steve means let him know if you have a problem with that, and I don't care. So that's what Steve means.
Moving on.
Yes, moving on. So that was kind of, what's going on with the show. Things are kind of, okay around here. I don't know. We have, Deep Six, Deep Sports. We're trying to, figure out where we're going with things. And
deep weather and deep politics and deep everything else.
Deep weather and deep politics are kind of in the channels for later, Deep politics is just going to be me.
Deep traffic.
Deep traffic is a Kyle project. Yeah.
That is a Kyle project, absolutely.
And deep politics is just going to be me yelling at a microphone by myself for like 45 minutes, like Alex Jones style. I'm just going to rip my shirt off and just run around my living room and just yell.
God. That's a sight to see.
Yeah. So, we have all these things going on, and I think the future is really exciting, but just make sure you're telling your friends about everything and follow us on social media so you can really keep up with stuff. And, of course, let Steve know if you have any problems with the new release schedule. So just wanted to reinforce that point.
Just yell at us on Twitter.
Know if there's any problems with it. Moving on, of course. So the big topic from the last 2 weeks in the sports world was the beginning of NFL free agency season. So this is really kind of, the NFL season sort of, begins with the start of free agency, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would absolutely agree with this.
I mean, there's other things that happen in between the Super Bowl and the start of free agency, like the combine and, other assorted events like that. But, the official season feels like it begins when players start migrating, like, nomads in the desert, just finding their new lands. Any feedback on that?
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to move on from that.
No, I mean it's a pretty broad topic, so I figured we would just hover over this one for a while. I don't know.
It just becomes real interesting when these players do find their destinations, they find their new homes, and you look at it and question: Do they fit there? Are they a square peg in a round hole? Do you think they're going to be a good signing for that team, or are they going to flame out like Bad Moon Andre Rison did with the Browns after 1 year?
Yeah, and that's really interesting that you bring up, because I think when we talk about some of these signings that happened and kind of how they fit in with their new teams, we're going to see, I have some question marks on some of them based upon, what the team sees in this pick, or what the player might see in it. Because, if you're a really good player, like an all-pro player coming from a good team that makes the playoffs year after year after year, and you're going to a bad team on a big contract, what's your motivation there? Obviously, you think it's just money at that point.
At that point, it really is just money. And a great example for that, and he didn't even reach free agency, would be Jamie Collins going from the Patriots to the Browns. I mean, at that point, it's not even about being competitive anymore. He's just going to be rolling in that money.
Sure, and the Browns are a good example, and we'll talk about another play on the Browns in a little bit when we get to the Browns. But, yeah, so I think there's definitely different questions you can ask about some of these players when we get to some of them. But we'll just dive in right at the deep end on a topic that's obviously pretty relevant to us being in the Philadelphia area. And the Philadelphia Eagles, it seems like the Eagles, their big moves are all reloading on offense. Of course, the Eagles, they add Alshon Jeffrey, wide receiver from the Bears, 1 year at $14 million, and Torrey Smith, wide receiver from the 49ers, who was released 3 years and $15 million. Couple of big receivers that the Eagles kind of need. Torrey Smith, I guess I probably shouldn't say big receiver.
He's pretty big in size. He's 6'2".
Well, I didn't necessarily mean physical. I just kind of meant big name, big production-wise. I mean, he has 1 year in his career over 1,000 yards.
Really?
Yeah, just one. So, I guess I shouldn't say big in that term.
I'd say
I think comparatively towards what the Eagles had,
Yeah.
They have a bunch of receivers that maybe grade out at their highest as maybe wide receiver threes.
Yeah.
So you're adding somebody who's, debatable, a legit number one receiver in Alshon Jeffrey, and a number two in Torrey Smith, who's going to really open the field for Carson Wentz.
See, here's the thing. I'd have to disagree with you on that debatable part, because I'd say on this team, considering what they had, he is a number one, and he will be a number one, the number one receiver on this team. Well, a wide receiver one, even in real life and in fantasy perspective, considering what the Eagles had to deal with this entire year. They had to deal with the dropsies from every single receiver on that team, including their best receiver in Jordan Matthews, but mostly Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, and Jordan Matthews isn't very good. I mean, at his best, he's maybe a 3. I mean,
yeah.
These
absolutely.
moves
he's a 3 on a good team.
These moves allow Jordan Matthews to move into the slot, which is probably where he's naturally the best to be at. I mean, Jordan Matthews shouldn't be your 8 catch a game guy.
But
I meant more that Alshon Jeffrey will be the number one receiver here. I just meant more that he's more of a, if you look comparatively across the league, he's probably not skills ability wise a number one wide receiver. And if you look at his motivation level and his suspension history now, he's probably not a number one wide receiver.
Maybe I'd say to each their own, because if you look back at the wide receivers we've had since T.O., Deshaun, Macklin, all of which who I think the only legitimate bona fide number one out of that list was T.O.
Sure, absolutely.
I'd say Alshon, comparatively, in my opinion, is the next best thing to a number one receiver, even compared to Deshaun and Jeremy Macklin, all whom have both flourished and have had great seasons with the Eagles, but they were never consistently number one receivers. I truly think Alshon Jeffrey is the next best thing. I think the reason why he hasn't had the years he's had because of injury, because of, for lack of a better word, I guess not using his head in terms of what he puts into his body.
Sure, and I mean, inconsistent quarterback play was an issue for him
Jay Cutler
in Chicago. Yeah.
And Jay Cutler, basically. I honestly think that he will contribute like a number one.
Sure, and I mean, he has incentive because the deal is actually, it's only a 1 year, $9.5 million deal, and there's $4.5 million in incentives. So they're probably easily attainable where, X amount of catches and roster bonuses and that sort of thing. So, I mean, they want him to perform like a number one wide receiver. They want him to make more money based upon that. So it's incentive for him to perform like it.
And when the start of free agency really began, I was really beginning to question, because I was really beginning to question, like, are the Eagles really gonna are they gonna land a receiver? Are they gonna look for AJ Bouye? We'll get to him in a little bit. But I was getting a little antsy. It's because usually every offseason the Eagles like to make a splash, and this year they were. It really took them a while to like even like they got Torrey Smith. I think for the first. I think for like the first half of free agency, it was just Torrey Smith, and then like, oh, where's that big name free agent?
The first half of the day was Torrey Smith, and they signed Alshon Jeffrey later in the day. Yeah. And they made other assorted smaller moves, which I think were higher impact. Like
Chance Warmack.
The signing of Chance Warmack, who's a former top 10 NFL draft pick. He was a star player for Alabama at guard.
Who our offensive lineman, Jeff Stoutland, coached and got the best out of.
Yeah, and re-signing Stefan Wisniewski. Awesome move, I think. It's 3 years, I think $9 million.
Yeah.
So, I think that signals the end of Jason Kelsey, too, so they're going to save money that way.
I was going to ask, like, do you think Stefan Wisniewski is going to be the center, or do you think they're going to move Isaac Seumalo?
I think that's a win either way. Yeah. They're going to get better because Jason Kelsey looked unmotivated, and he makes a lot of money.
He makes a lot of mistakes.
So I think moving him out makes a lot of sense at this point.
I think he had, like, one of the larger amount of like holding or false start penalties by a center.
I also I love the move to re-add Nick Foles. 2 years, $11 million, and they released Chase Daniel the same day. So
it's just amazing.
I like it from the terms of they're adding a backup quarterback who's a lot like their starting quarterback, so there's less of an offensive change. If they had to go to the backup quarterback, they don't have to change as much schematically.
Here's the thing about Chase Daniel, though. If you really think about it, we're paying Nick Foles less to play Chase Daniel's role. Not only that, but you could see
there's an argument to be made. Nick
Foles is not only a better player, but just the sheer fact that Chase Daniel was making more money throwing one pass. The entire year.
Well,
he made like, what do you make, like 12 million?
Yeah, and you also have to remember when they signed Chase Daniel, it was expected that he might start for them when they signed him, and he never ended up starting. Mm-hmm. So, and we will get to the amount of money that NFL starters make at some point. But there was a lot to think about there. There was more factors that came into play, but I do like that move a lot. There's less of a change to the offense when Nick Foles has to play at some point if he does. And I think that Nick Foles is more of a proven asset. You can trust him more with the tools that they've added as well. Nick Foles out there throwing rockets down the field to Torrey Smith. I like that if it has to come down to that. So I definitely think that was a strong move.
Do you think this is the official end for Nelson Aguilar?
Yeah, with the receivers they've added. Mm-hmm. I mean, your 1, 2, and 3, I think are pretty much set in stone. And I would imagine they're going to draft receivers too. No, I think he's going to be cut.
Wow.
You gotta remember he's a Chip Kelly guy too, and they've done pretty much all they can do to exodus Chip Kelly guys. So, but we'll move on from the Eagles talk because this is an Eagles centric podcast. But I mean, we definitely I think the Eagles made moves to retool their offense, which they absolutely had to do. They didn't touch on cornerback.
I think they're going to draft in the first round.
Or edge rusher. So I think that's what they're going to touch with their first 2 picks is probably cornerback and edge rusher.
Yeah.
And I think that's smart. And they also didn't add a running back. But I think they're in, with the market value being the way it is with the running backs, with all these running backs taking 1-year deals for low money, they're probably going to end up signing a veteran running back, would be my guess.
You think AP?
No. AP or Jamal Charles, probably. I hate both those moves.
Well, do you think any of them even has a chance to come to the Eagles?
Yes, because market value is drying up so badly.
You couldn't.
People are just going to be looking for jobs now.
You couldn't see them drafting one, like a Dalvin Cook.
Well, they're going to have to draft him in the first round. So at that point, they're just ignoring cornerback completely, and I can't see that happening again. But this is just moving on to the Jaguars.
Let's move on. Go ahead.
Jaguars be Jaguaring, y'all. They signed cornerback AJ Bouye, 5 years, $67.5 million, and defensive end Calais Campbell from the Cardinals, 4 years, $60 million. Also, in a previous deal, they acquired offensive tackle Brandon Albert from the Dolphins for a 2018 late-round pick. Mm-hmm. Are these not just prototypical Jaguars moves at this point?
Dolling out money for them old players outside of AJ Bouye.
Friend of the show, Kevin Carter's Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah. Who was supposed to be on this episode.
Who was supposed to be our guest on the show today, but he was running late. These are prototypical Jaguars moves just to... Listen, Jaguars are in a rough spot because they haven't won in so long. that even though they've tried to right the ship now by bringing in, at least who they've identified to be, real football people to run the organization finally, that they can't attract people without throwing money at them.
Yeah. And luckily, the owner Shad Khan's, willing to doll out that money in order to pull it out some type of product. Just the thing is like, did they need to doll out that much?
I know that
even for Calais Campbell.
I know that with Jalen Ramsey and AJ Bouye, it's gonna be hard to throw on them.
Oh, it's gonna be absolutely hard.
And
I
I didn't add this move to the list, but they also did sign Barry Church, so they added another safety to replace John Cyprien because they did lose John Cyprien. So they're making moves that make sense, and I think with the right coaching, their defense has enough really young assets. Miles Jack will be another year removed from jacking up his knees.
Yeah.
So I think they have enough young assets where they can really make some moves if they can get any kind of pass rush, just anything rushing the passer. And I think that paying Calais Campbell while he's in his 30s, $60 million, probably a dumb move. But Calais Campbell did turn down an offer from the Broncos to go to Jacksonville. I think part of that is because he played at Miami. I believe he is from Florida. So I think part of it is he did want to go home.
Yeah.
But, it certainly doesn't hurt when people are throwing 4-year deals at you. I didn't write down what the guaranteed money is on the contract, but the guaranteed money was substantial as well.
Yeah. Usually D linemen and corners make the most guaranteed money out of defensive players.
But yeah, prototypical Jaguars moves. I mean, you have to throw money at players to come play there, and I'm sympathetic to the situation. I get why they have to do it. But, to go after the biggest name cornerback and throw them, $68 million over 5 years. Moving on to the Browns. Browns be Brownin'. Browns signed wide receiver Kenny Britt, 4 years, $32.5 million, that's a whole secondary topic by itself. The big move for the Browns, acquiring cornerback Brock Osweiler, a 2018 second-round pick, a 2017 sixth-round pick, for a 2017 fourth-round pick. They also signed Bengals guard Kevin Zeitler, 5 years, $60 million.
It's probably the best signing they did.
They signed center J.C. Treader, 3 years, $16.5 million, formerly of the Packers. And I know they also re-signed their own guard. I forget what his name is.
Rico?
No, it wasn't Greco. It was the other one. I wrote his name down, but they did re-sign their own player, too. Okay. So, clearly a focus for the Browns, getting their offensive line correct, which is smart. I mean, their best aspect of their offense last year was their running game, and they don't have a quarterback. So, how many times have
we said that?
Yeah.
Every single year the Browns have started a league year. How many times have we said, oh, they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. They still don't have a quarterback. Oh, they drafted that quarterback. They still don't have a quarterback.
I'll say this for them. I mean, I know that the idea behind the deal was we'll trade for Osweiler because we're going to get a bunch of picks for it because Houston wants to move him so badly.
It was a typical NBA deal.
Right, of course. But I'll say this for it, that I think that there's more to develop with Osweiler than there was with Robert Griffin at this point in their careers. And I trust Hugh Jackson to develop a quarterback. I don't think he's a great head coach, but I think that he is a great quarterback coach. I think he was a good coordinator. I would trust him to develop the quarterback.
I really hope so.
So if they do aim at some point to keep him, I think that they do have the coaching in place to develop him.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they still draft a quarterback?
I think they have to.
Yeah.
They're not going to go into the season with Kessler, Hogan,
and Osweiler.
Yeah, they're not going into the season with Kessler and Hogan. So they're either keeping Osweiler or they're drafting somebody else. I don't think they have an option.
Yeah.
It might not be number one overall.
No.
I mean, I don't know that Mitch Trubisky is going to prove himself, and he doesn't want to be called Mitch anymore, so we'll call him Mitchell here, too.
Mitchell
Trubisky.
Okay.
But, I just don't see where else they go with that position unless they jump in on Jay Cutler. That's all there is left.
God. That'd be a typical Browns
and that would be Browns v. Brownin' too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Kenny Britt deal, obviously, Terrell Pryor only got 1 year, $8 million from the Redskins. It seems like they could have given him that money to stay. And I don't think Terrell Pryor is all that good. I think he played well for that team last year. I don't think he's all that good, but I'd rather have Terrell Pryor than Kenny Britt, who also only has 1 year of 1,000 yards receiving in his career. And at times he couldn't even break through in the lineup for Jeff Fisher's Rams teams. And Jeff Fisher wanted him on the Rams. He went out and got him to play there. So I don't know that Kenny Britt has the motivation where he's the kind of player I want to give a long-term big money deal to. But the Browns, that are running a sabermetrics organization in the NFL, thought that they saw something in Kenny Britt's past to say, this is a player we want to invest in long-term. I question if the system is working, if they see something in Kenny Britt that says we need to invest in this guy. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of rumors early in the day when free agency opened that the Eagles were going to invest heavily in Kenny Britt.
It almost seemed like at the start of the league year, it was rumored that they were just going to sign him. Like, that's confirmed. They were going to sign Kenny Britt.
And that was scary.
Yeah.
But on to the Zeitler move. I agree with you. It was a big move because not only are you helping your own team, but you're also hurting a division rival. But that's one of those moves where I question what the motivation is for the player, because he's leading a team that makes the playoffs every single season. Now, granted, they
this season.
obviously didn't make it this year, but he's leaving a team that makes the playoffs every year to go to a team that never makes the playoffs just for money. So what's your motivation there?
Money.
Right, but what does that say about you as a player?
It says you're not a competitor.
Right.
You're just going to, chase the money train, move on to the next team, whatever.
So I don't know. I mean, as the team that gives him the $60 million, don't you almost have pause about that?
I do. It's obviously not the full 60.
I think this is more of a philosophical question because you're the team that's throwing the money at him. But also at the same time, you have to be like, well, do I really want the guy that's going to jump after this money because he's leaving a team that goes to the playoffs every year?
Right. And a lot of what goes on in negotiations and behind the scenes is a lot of hearsay, a lot of, I'd say broken promises. It's just, in reality, I think everyone both knows is that they're chasing the money train, and they need a big name to put a product out there on the field for the audience just to get excited about.
Sure, I guess I can see that reasoning behind it. I don't know. I think it's a bigger, deeper talk for us to have another time on the show, but it's certainly something interesting to think about, I guess, what the motivation is for smaller market teams or teams that are not good when they go after these bigger name players or players from teams that are doing really well. What they think about that when a player is like, oh yeah, I'm totally into that $90 million contract you just offered me.
Right?
Yeah. The Bears be bearing.
The Bears
signed quarterback Mike Glennon, a backup in Tampa for the past several seasons. 3 years, $45 million to replace Jay Cutler. Also signed tight end Deion Sims, formerly of the Dolphins, 3 years, $18 million, also a backup. Wide receiver Kendall Wright, formerly of the Titans, 1 year, $4 million. And quarterback Prince Amukamara, 1 year, $7 million. I'll say this. I think that Kendall Wright and Prince Amukamara, 1 year deals. Great deals.
I was going to say the exact same things. I think out of all four of those signings, those two were the best ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Deion Sims, tight ends are getting ridiculous contracts this year. I guess that the Bears going after a young tight end rather than like the Cardinals who re-signed Gresham and the Redskins who gave Davis a 3-year deal, and it was big money. Tight ends are getting ridiculous money this year for literally no reason. The Packers gave Martellus Bennett $7 million a season. And he's consistently shown that motivation's an issue for him when he plays for teams
he still puts up numbers,
that aren't
though.
going anywhere.
Yeah.
He doesn't shut his mouth, and he's got motivation issues.
He's the opposite of his brother Michael.
He doesn't shut his mouth either.
But he actually plays.
But he plays. But I question, Deion Sims, at least he's young, but he's literally never produced anything in his career, and he's more of a blocking tight end than he is a receiving tight end. Mm-hmm. And you're giving him $6 million a season. Not really sure where you're going there. And Mike Glennon, I think he's highly regarded around the league as a really high-level backup quarterback. I like him. He's got a cannon for an arm. Not mobile at all. He's of that Tony Romo mold where he's going to drop back with the ball, and that's all he can do, and then fire it down the field. And for a team that has offensive line issues and I'll say a questionable running game, and I know they have Jeremy Howard and Langford, but
Jordan Howard,
Jordan Howard, yeah. But they, I don't know what you're thinking giving Mike Glennon $15 million. I know the Bucks were ready to give him, what was it, $8 or $9 million a season to stay as the backup, and he turned it down so he could be a starter.
Why wouldn't you?
I think giving him a chance to be a starter, I get it if you're the Bears. I don't think you had to give him $15 million to do it. I don't think any other team in the league was going to give him more than 10. So I think that's bad judgment of what his value is around the league. So they probably overpaid by like $6 million just to try to get him there to start.
Yeah.
Moving on to my own Miami Dolphins. Doing Mike Tannenbaum things, y'all.
I don't think these are even Mike Tannenbaum things.
They are totally Mike Tannenbaum things when you look at it. Look at his history with the New York Jets. He's just constantly like hypnotized like a gypsy by big names and just needs big names and just always goes after the big deal. And that's why the Jets were in hell for years after Tannenbaum left.
There's only maybe one or two names out of all this that I can say, in my opinion, are big name players.
I'll say this for a lot of what he did. I'll say this: at least they're paying money to their own players.
That's what I'm saying.
So there's value in what he was doing. But Kenny Stills, if you've watched what he did last year, not worth half of what they paid him. Drops far too many passes, just completely unreliable. He'll be going down the field and he's wide open and just doesn't catch it. And Ryan Tannehill wasn't the issue last year. He went from being the worst downfield passer in the league, completely inaccurate, to last year statistically, he was the best downfield passer in the league. Completed more downfield passes than any other quarterback in the league. So Tannehill wasn't the issue. So if that's the case, when somebody's dropping that many passes down the field, you're the issue, not the quarterback at that point.
Right.
And you're going to reward him making him the highest paid receiver on the team. And now you have to pay Jarvis Landry next year. So you set a bad standard where now Landry's contract has to fit in with other highly paid receivers around the league, where you're getting Alshon Jeffrey making $14 million. And you've already paid Kenny Stills $8 million.
I think the thinking behind that, in my opinion, was I think it was mainly because I don't think they're confident with Devontae Parker going in as that number two option behind Jarvis Landry, because he just consistently just has been getting hurt, and even when he gets healthy, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. I think that was the thinking behind that.
I think that when Devontae Parker's healthy, though, he's much more dynamic.
Oh, he is, but the question is health. Like, he hasn't been healthy. So I
get it.
I honestly agree with the
deal,
signing.
though.
I agree with the signing. Maybe the money could have been just a little bit different, but I think in order to keep him, they had to pay him. Much like our next player, Rashad Jones.
Rashad Jones, 5 years, $60 million. He is the heart of the defense. So, okay, losing him would have been bad.
Yes.
It would have been a bad deal. But $12 million a season, a bit much. I mean, it's in line with what other elite safeties are making.
Has he even ever been named to a Pro Bowl?
Maybe once or twice. I'd have to check up on that. I'll fact check myself at some point. But Rashad Jones, 5 years, $60 million. I feel like it's overpaying a player based on what your perceived name value is for him, rather than what his actual name value is around the league. I don't think any other team in the league would pay him that much money. And that's not a slight on the player, because I think he is a fantastic football player. I think he's really good, but I don't think any other team in the league is paying him that much money. It's just overvaluing a player too much like he overvalued Ndamukong Suh. Just paying him way too much money based on perceived value.
Oh, Jesus.
They acquired defensive end William Hayes from the Rams.
I like that trade.
And a 2017 7th-round pick for a 2017 6th-round pick. I don't think anybody around the league can figure out this trade at all. The Rams are surrendering a valuable situational pass rusher for essentially nothing. And
he had 10 sacks last year.
William Hayes said that the Rams traded him for office supplies.
Oh, my God.
He literally put this out and said they traded him for office supplies. So I don't know what the situation is, and the player's confused by it. And the Dolphins swooped in and stole it. So that's one of their better moves, I would say, this offseason.
Here's some big names coming.
They signed linebacker Lawrence Timmons, 2 years, $12 million. Linebacker's been an issue for the Dolphins for several seasons. This ain't fixing it.
No, it's not. I've been
$6 million a season for an aging linebacker that doesn't fit your scheme.
I was trying to tell this to my buddy Mike, who's all like, oh, Lawrence Timmons, he's going to be so good. He had 114 tackles, 2 sacks, and a couple picks last year. And I'm like, yeah, but number one, he's old, he's slow, and he won't fit your scheme.
He doesn't fit the scheme. He's getting old. And it's just, I don't know. I think that they should be trying to get younger at linebacker and better, not older. And this maybe helps them slightly this year, but it's not going to help you long term.
Right.
I don't see how this really fixes the situation at all.
Has he ever played in a 4-3 before?
I don't believe so, no. Maybe Michigan?
Maybe Michigan.
Signed tight end Anthony Fasano, 1 year, $3 million. Okay, that's kind of like a sentimental move. And they didn't need a second tight end because they let Deion Sims go. So they needed two tight ends anyway.
I think they could have gotten him for like the veteran minimum, to be honest.
I don't know, to be honest with you. And they previously acquired tight end Julius Thomas from the Jags for a 6th-round pick.
I like that move.
I do like this move, actually, because he did play in Adam Gase's offense before with the Broncos. So he knows the scheme. Those were the best years of his career, playing with the Broncos. Yes. I think that Gase has Tannehill on the upswing. So I think that Tannehill he needs a tight end.
Right.
And that should have been with Jordan Cameron, but Jordan Cameron can't stay healthy.
Nope.
Now, Julius Thomas can't stay healthy either. So we'll see what happens. If Julius Thomas is healthy, I think he can get back to the form he was in with the Broncos, where he was catching like 80 passes a season, 12 touchdowns. I think he can do that with Tannehill because he needs that intermediate target. I don't know how that's going to mess with Jarvis Landry's catches because he's kind of that intermediate target now. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that's going to do. Maybe you send Jarvis Landry, to the right, and you send Thomas to the left, and you kind of open up both sides of the field and you expose, linebacker inefficiencies with your opposition. I don't really know how they're going to make that work. But I think it's a dynamic target that's going to expose the middle of the field. I really like that trade. They didn't give up anything to do it to get him. And his contract, I think, is palatable on a trade because the bonuses have already been paid. So they're not really losing anything on this deal. I kind of like that one. But just in general, I just thought that it's more just Tannenbaum being Tannenbaum, personally. It's, chasing big names and overvaluing players, not really understanding how value works in the marketplace. Which is odd because when Tannenbaum got fired by the Jets, he went and became an agent. So you would feel like he understands how value works. And I think sometimes when he signs players as a figure now with a team, he still thinks like an agent and is trying to give players the most money possible, which you shouldn't be thinking that way as a team executive. You should be trying to give them as little money as possible as an executive team. Moving on to the team that's winning the offseason.
Oh, God.
The New England Patriots rule the football world. Acquire tight end Dwayne Allen and a 2017 6th-round pick from the Colts for a 2017 4th-round pick. Not a bad deal on paper. Obviously, the Patriots needed a tight end anyway because they run so many 2 tight end schemes. And Gronkowski's still hurt, and they lost Martellus Bennett. So they needed a tight end anyway. Dwayne Allen, great addition. The Colts were trying to purge everything from the team lately.
They should, because in my opinion, they're wasting Andrew Luck, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
So I guess I'd say it's an all right deal.
Yeah, they really didn't give anything up for
fourth rounder.
A 4th rounder.
Two assets. I'd say you're doing all right there.
They re-signed defensive tackle Alan Branch, 2 years, $12 million. He's in his 30s.
Good run stuffer.
But he's a run stuffer in the vein of like a Vince Wilfork.
Yeah.
And that's how their defense runs. It's such a vital cog in their defense to be able to stop the run at the point of attack that without that player, their defense doesn't work. Signed cornerback Stephon Gilmore, 5 years, $65 million. On the surface, I didn't really understand this move at first. So I was like, okay, well,
it's very
it's a lot of money considering
they don't ever doll out money.
No, they don't, and it's a long-term deal, which they hardly ever do in free agency too. And but then the more I thought about it, I kind of like this move more and more because if Gilmore didn't play lousy last year, he would have made a lot more money in this free agent market. Where AJ Boye, off of one good season, made $68 million. So Gilmore's coming off a down season.
Yeah,
he plays for a division rival, so you stole him away from the Bills off of a down season. And they knew they were going to lose Logan Ryan anyway, which they did. So they replaced Logan Ryan with who should be a better player in Stephon Gilmore. And going to the Patriots, he should be better again, working with better coaching staff. So I actually ended up liking this move on paper. They acquired defensive end Coney Ealy for a 2017 and a 2017 3rd-round pick from the Panthers for a 2017 2nd-round pick. So you're essentially, when I looked at the picks, they got Ealy and a 3rd-rounder from the Panthers, so the Panthers could move up 8 spots in the draft. Yeah. I don't know. I think this is more symptomatic of what's wrong with the Panthers organization, that they were willing to give up a promising young defensive end to move up 8 spots in the draft, than it is. This is what the Patriots do. They wait for other teams to make mistakes and they capitalize. So they just added a defensive end that's like, it's a year removed from a good sack season.
Yeah.
And then he was down this year and they were like, okay, we're fucking done with you. We're moving on. Trade you to the Patriots, you scumbag. So we can move up 8 spots in the draft. It just doesn't make sense how things like that happen. But the Patriots wait for teams to make those moves, and they capitalize on it, and that's how they stay good forever.
Yeah, they just make those players better.
But on to their 2 biggest moves. Patriots acquire wide receiver Brandon Cooks and a 2017 4th-round pick from the Saints for a 2017 first and 3rd-round picks.
So basically, the way I see this is, not only did they got exponentially better. Like you never see the Patriots really go out for a wide receiver, especially a wide receiver of this magnitude, because they play the short and intermediate games with guys like Danny Amendola, Chris Hogan, Wes Welker.
While we're on that topic, I think this pretty much means the end of Amendola. But moving on.
It's totally the end of Amendola. But this is very unpatriots like that they're giving up their asset, like their draft assets.
Once we go to the last move on their list, I'll talk about what I think this all means.
Okay, it's just strange to me because now going into this draft, their first pick is in the 3rd round.
Yeah, they don't have a first or a 2nd-round pick,
Nope.
and I think they traded their 4th too in the Colts deal.
Yeah,
I don't know if they have multiple 4ths, but they don't have a pick until the 3rd round.
Nope.
And this year's NFL draft is in the great city of Philadelphia. So you can be here when the Patriots don't have a 1st-round draft pick.
Maybe.
Their last move of the offseason, at least the last move they made up till now. And they made other smaller moves too. Like they signed Rex Burkhead away from the Bengals. So I don't know if that's their new running back because LeGarrette Blount is still a free agent. They have not made a move to bring him back. Patriots re-signed linebacker Dante Hightower, 4 years, $43.5 million. So a guy they let go to test the market. They didn't even bother franchising him. Went out and saw, man, there ain't shit out here for anybody else. All these other teams ain't doing anything, and came directly back and signed for less to stay with the Patriots. And again, this is why this team stays good. Because they're just like, okay, we'll call your bluff. Go ahead. Go test the market. And he still comes back and plays for less. Yep, that's why they stay good. It's still a lot of money for a player that's getting older and who is injury prone, but he's also their best linebacker. So I'm not sure that, they played him and they won. I don't know if there's really anything else to say about that.
Nope.
So what do I think this all means? I get the distinct impression that the Patriots think that Brady's done after this season. I guess they're loading up like they think this is their last chance for a championship for a while, and also their steadfastness that they're not trading Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I was just about to hit up on that one because like all you heard throughout the offseason is like, oh, is Jimmy Garoppolo going to get traded, or the Browns going to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? Because they certainly have the ammo to do it, and they're dumb enough to give up the assets to do it, 2 first-round picks. It'll definitely be interesting to see how this whole season plays out, because obviously Garoppolo's back for another year. He's not getting traded.
Right. So their steadfastness that they're not trading him, and combined with all the moves they made where they're actually spending money right now, and they're bringing guys like Brandon Cooks, who they traded a 1st and a 3rd-round pick for, and he's in the last year of his deal. So they're going to have to re-sign him too.
No, he's not in the last year.
He's in the last year of his he's on his restricted free agent year.
That's if they decline. Was his option declined? 5th-year option?
I wouldn't think so, no.
Well, then they'll have 2 years.
I have to look at that.
Yeah, no, he's only been in the league 3 years.
Regardless, they have to re-sign him. So it's not like he's on a long-term deal. So they're committing to making these moves, to paying more money to people to come in. I just get the distinct feeling that New England knows that their time is short with Brady. So they're reloading to make one more move.
I guess.
And then that's going to be it. Because otherwise, I think they would have traded Garoppolo.
Yeah, if they felt so strongly about it. I don't know, man. Like, what if Brady defies Father Time again? Then what?
I think then they trade Garoppolo, but I think if they felt that strongly about Jacoby Brissett, that they probably would have traded Garoppolo. Especially if they thought that Brady had 2-3 more years. They would have been like, well, we'll just get somebody else ready by then. That's fine. I don't think they feel that confidently about that situation anymore.
Right.
Their moves suggest otherwise. So we'll just run through some quick hitters here, and then we're going to move on to
Yeah.
talk about something else. Panthers sign offensive tackle Matt Khalil, wide receiver Charles Johnson, defensive end Julius Peppers. Some of the money on these deals, especially the Matt Khalil deal, just shows me, especially with that Cody
Matt
Eli
Khalil.
trade, just shows me that the Panthers have literally no idea what they're doing. Matt Khalil, $11 million a season, played 2 games last year. And even when he has played in the past, not that good. I don't know if they're hoping that just playing with his brother will like rub off on him and they'll be like, some sort of like pixie dust magic, like he can just sprinkle it on him and make him
Yeah.
good. But Matt Khalil, injury prone player, not very good. 5 years, $55 million. Not really understanding where the logic is there, but it's such a Panthers move. The Giants sign wide receiver Brandon Marshall, offensive tackle DJ Fluker, re-sign guard John Jerry, and re-sign JPP. 4 years, $68 million for JPP, one hand. I don't know if they really re-signed him so much when he can't use a pen. He has 2 fingers on one of his hands.
Yeah.
The Giants have been on a
thing is
mass
that-
spending spree for the past 2 seasons, just spending money. And I don't really know that they're getting the return on their product that they thought they would. They were good last season,
They were good.
but bringing in,
defense.
I think my biggest take home from these moves is that this Brandon Marshall move is either going to go really, really well or it's going to go really, really badly. And as somebody who likes the Eagles, I can't wait to see which way it goes.
Yeah.
Because him and Odell Beckham in the same wide receiver
Oh
core,
my God.
it's either going to explode in their faces or they're going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And that's just exciting. They also signed Geno Smith to be their backup quarterback.
Oh, that's legit now.
So
Okay.
Eli Manning, he's never been hurt in his career, but that's a lot of like phantom interceptions right now sitting in their quarterback room, like just interceptions waiting to happen.
As if he doesn't.
Eli
throw
Manning's
enough
good for
interceptions
20,
already.
and Geno's good for 30.
Yeah.
So that's 50 interceptions sitting in the quarterback room right now. Just gets me hard just thinking about it.
Anyway,
Anyway,
let's move forward here.
the Rams sign offensive tackle Andrew Whitworth, wide receiver Robert Woods, and defensive end Connor Barwin. Rams making moves for old people and wide receivers that don't matter.
Robert Woods, why?
The Robert Woods deal was 5
Dude,
years, $39
that's about as
million.
hilarious as the the other deal, the Tavon Austin deal.
Yeah.
They're both about the same.
Seahawks, offensive tackle Luke Jokel, and my favorite move of the offseason, Eddie Lacy, 1 year, $5.5 million, plus weight loss bonuses. He gets $55,000 for every 5 pounds he loses.
What?
And I guarantee you,
Wait. What?
so he gained something like 39 pounds between the end of the season till now. And he's a running back.
Yeah.
He's up to like 250 now, I think.
Okay, somebody pay me money to lose weight.
I guarantee you he won't collect any of that money on that contract either. He'll get the regular amount of the contract, but he won't get any of the bonuses.
Wow.
A couple other quick hitters. Bucks signed wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, who was rumored to go to the Eagles. Titans signed cornerback Logan Ryan and safety John Cyprian. Like we already mentioned, the Redskins signed wide receiver Terrell Pryor. Packers signed tight end Martellus Bennett. The Ravens re-signed defensive tackle Brandon Williams. Safety Tony Jefferson, running back Danny Woodhead. Chiefs signed former Eagle defensive tackle Benny Logan. The Raiders signed wide receiver kick returner Cordaro Patterson and tight end Jared Cook. And the Falcons signed defensive tackle Dontari Poe. One other rumor with the Raiders, too. Marshawn Lynch coming out of retirement possibly to play for the Raiders.
I'd say it's a pretty good flip flop if you.
They either
you know
have
what
to
I'm saying.
trade for his rights with the Seahawks or the Seahawks have to release his rights.
Which do you think, in your opinion, is more likely to happen? I already think
They'll probably trade a late round pick to the Seahawks for his rights. I think it also doesn't hurt the Raiders too that like he was flirting with coming out of retirement last year and never did it. I don't think it hurts that the Raiders are going to be in Las Vegas and he's like, yeah. Marshawn's gonna be out sprinkling, Skittles all over the strip.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can see that. Yeah, I was thinking like maybe 6th round pick could get it done.
Yeah, I think so. So that's
'Cause
kind of.
I think Oakland can pay him.
Yeah, absolutely.
point.
So that's kind of a wrap up of the first week of free agency, and I think we're probably going to touch on this again in like a week or so because there's a couple of big names left out there still, like AP, and we'll see where they end up. I think the free agent market for running backs is probably drying up a little bit, but these guys are still going to find homes.
Yeah.
So the other big news this week was the NCAA tournament started on Thursday and Friday, and just a couple quick hitters on that. Number 1 struggling on Thursday. Villanova and Gonzaga both looked really rough to start.
Yes, it did.
Both struggled in the first half. I think the first half of the Gonzaga game was like 26-22. And Gonzaga ended up winning by 20 points, I think. But they looked really bad in the first half. Upsets. Xavier over Maryland. Maryland, not really that surprising. Maryland's just a really up and down team.
Yeah.
And when your star player is not really that good, but he's your star player, you're just going to be doomed to not do very well in the tournament. Number 12, Middle Tennessee over Minnesota.
Minnesota wasn't really a good 5 seed. I'll be honest with you.
No, they're not. And Richard Pitino isn't that good of a coach either.
No, he's with Louisville.
That's Rick Pitino. His son is the coach.
Rich. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold up. No, and I thought Middle Tennessee was going to do another one of those runs again, like they did last year. Did they win 1 or 2 games last year?
They won 2, I believe.
They won 2 games. I think the buck stops here when they face Butler, though.
Yeah, probably. Number 11, URI over Creighton. That was your other upset, really, from the first round. Near collapses. Notre Dame barely edged out Princeton in the first round. They actually lost today, so Notre Dame's done.
Yeah.
And USA. I don't know why I wrote USA. I don't remember who I was thinking about there.
America.
America versus Southern Methodist.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking about there, but the SMU apparently lost by a point. That's a mistake. We'll have to go back and talk about that at some point. I think I was writing this at like 4 a.m. last night. Please leave this in so I look like an idiot.
Oh, don't worry. It's going to be in there.
Michigan also won by 1 point over OK State. Northwestern makes the tournament for the first time in their school's history and edges out Vanderbilt 68-66 in the first round. Questionable decision-making at the end. Did you see some of the stuff that happened at the end? Vanderbilt makes the basket, goes ahead, then intentionally fouls. And Northwestern never has to look back after that.
I just did not understand.
Amazing.
That move.
And they get Gonzaga in round 2 now, and Gonzaga did not look good. I didn't even fill out a bracket. We probably should have done one for the show.
Probably.
But I didn't fill out a bracket, and if I did, I probably would have had Northwestern going 2 rounds anyway, just because the momentum of making the tournament for the first time. I just feel like it's going to be on their side. And fucking Elaine was in the crowd, and she was like all fucking happy and like crying, like, oh my God, Northwestern made the tournament and they won a game. It's just going to be so hype.
Yeah.
And of course, for Kevin Carter, Florida sucks. So, that's your brief NCAA tournament wrap up. I think we'll cover this again in 2 weeks when we get towards the 8.
Heavily,
yeah. Then we'll really get into the nitty gritty of the tournament when we really know who the pretenders are and who some of the princess teams are.
Yeah.
And we'll have an idea of where the tournament's going when we come back in 2 weeks. So, Steve, where can people find you on the interweb?
You can find me at Steven_Spivak on just about everything.
Cal.
Cal.
Where can people find you on the interweb?
I mean, they can try. They can try to find me on the internet.
They can't. Only the CIA can find me on the internet.
Only the CIA can find me. But I think you can search for my name on Facebook. I think I'd have to change my privacy settings.
That's very private.
I don't know. That's the one thing I don't care to give out is my Facebook because it's like the private social media that I have.
Oh, whatever. People know my name.
Yeah,
they want to
whatever.
look for me, they can. I'm probably not going to accept you though.
Yeah, exactly. We don't like you.
That's kind of where I'm at.
On Twitter, I'm at the Matt Barnes. Instagram at the Matthew Barnes, and of course you can find our show, Steve, at Deep Sports Pod.
At Deep Sports Pod for the Deep Sports Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and then
of course
the Deep Sports Podcast on Facebook, and of course you can find the Deep Six Podcast at Deep Six Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and the Deep Six Podcast on Facebook, and then everything else, deep6podcast.com. Find it all there. And subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean if you haven't done that already.
Yeah. And all of that is free.
It's absolutely freaking free.
Doesn't cost $1.
Absolutely freaking free. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. Anything else? No, I think come back next week for the Deep Six Podcast.
Yeah, we're going to be back next week. I don't know what show we have coming on, but we'll be back next week with a regular old Deep Six Podcast.
Next Sunday. Remember, Sunday, guys. Sunday.
And remember, if you don't like the day, tell Steve, because I don't care.
Yep.
It's a lie. I do care a little bit. I think Sunday's a good day. You're going to like it. Go, do your shit on the weekend. And then come back on Sunday night and be like...
Go sin on Saturday night.
Go do your shit Go take a shit.
Think of us like the worldwide of Disney.
Yeah,
like,
just go sin on Saturday
Yeah.
night, go to church Sunday morning, then come back and listen to this
and
shit.
then like you would have visited Michael Eisner on Sunday nights on ABC. Like
What?
You're visiting Deep
Okay.
Sports Podcast or Deep Six Podcast.
We're getting a little lost here, I think.
Not at all. But
I know where I am.
For myself and Kyle and Steve, I just happy that you guys came to visit us again this week, and we'll see you again here on this show in 2 weeks.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Yeah. Peace.